And what is jihad to begin with? So jihad is to put some effort, to exert some form of effort. And in legislative terms, it is to fight in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, to make Allah's word supreme. And it has different types. So it's not only limited to battlefields. You make jihad against Satan. You make jihad against your own evil soul by forcing yourself to do forms of worship and avoiding haram and what displeases Allah. You make jihad against the hypocrites by exposing them, refuting their false claims. You make jihad against the disbelievers in the battlefield. And you make jihad against the sinners among the Muslims by enforcing virtue and righteousness and forbidding evil and vice. So there are different types of jihad, but generally speaking, whenever the word jihad pops up, we mean by it to fight in the cause of Allah. And the Shaykh goes to say, jihad continues until the end of human life and remains in force all of the time as long as the Quran remains. This means that jihad is not for a particular period of time, is not limited to a specific area of land. And this is why some scholars made jihad to be the sixth pillar of Islam. There's no hadith as such, but they all know and acknowledge that jihad is better than voluntary hajj, voluntary fasting, voluntary prayers. Jihad is the peak of Iman because it causes a person to sacrifice not only his wealth but also his life. In an authentic hadith, the Shaykh says, Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Prophet ﷺ said, a group of my ummah, a group of my community will continue to fight for the truth, prevailing until the day of judgment. They will fight for the truth and Allah would make them prevail until the day of judgment. Meaning this, a group of Muslims will always exist throughout history. Different locations, different languages, different ethnicities, but they will always fight for the cause of Allah, for the truth, and Allah would make them winners and they will be prevailing until the day of judgment. When jihad is to repel an attacking enemy, it does not require permission by the leader or the formulation of the right intention. Now let us analyze. Jihad is divided into two types: offensive and defensive. At the beginning of the time of Islam, both types of jihad were prohibited. So there were no offensive nor defensive jihad in Mecca. The Muslims were ordered not to fight back. The reason? Very obvious. If 100 or 2 were to fight back thousands of disbelievers, of idol worshippers, they would have annihilated them, which would cause Islam to be destroyed forever. And this is the pivotal point. This is the cornerstone that most of those freedom fighters, those rebels, those wannabe jihadis cannot understand. Jihad is divided into two types: offensive and defensive. And in the beginning of the time, Allah Azza wa Jal prohibited the Muslims to defend themselves in Mecca in order to preserve Islam. When they went to Medina, for a number of years, it was defensive. Then, after Al-Khandaq, the trench, the battle of the trench, the Prophet said, now we conquer them and they don't. It went into the offensive. Now, offensive jihad cannot be done except under the flagship of an imam, of a Muslim ruler who has an army, who has a country established, who has power and authority. Not any Tom, Dick or Harry coming from the jungles or from the mountains, ruling a group of warriors, claiming that they control this area or that country and they are a state. This is ridiculous. So offensive jihad has to be under the flagship of a ruler. And it has to be with the intention of fighting for the sake of Allah, according to the Sharia of Allah, to have the name of Allah, the word of Allah, prominent overall. Defensive jihad is when the enemy of the disbelievers attack us. So if we are in a country, if we are in a city, if we are in a village, we have to all fight. And we are not going to wait for the instruction of the Muslim Imam. So even if the Muslim Imam says, oh, don't fight, surrender. No, we have to fight. Providing that we would protect ourselves and our families and our wealth. And the responsibility of all Muslims around us is to come and join us in defending our lands and our people. And if they don't, then this is the sin of the Muslim population. Well, actually the Muslim governments.